What is going on, everybody, at twitch.tv/HeelKevin, Wrestling Review Society's YouTube page, and Real Pro Wrestling's YouTube page as well. Guys, tonight we have an amazing interview set up for you guys. This is somebody that you guys have wanted me to interview for a very long time, and things just happen to line up. So he's here today, and he's been more than willing to do the interview. But just before we get into that, I want to take a quick chance to thank all of our amazing sponsors who make this show happen each and every time. First of which being thecoldestwater.com. Guys, these people make some of the best water bottles I've ever had in my entire life. I have them, my mom has them, my wife has them, and now with their addition of pet bowl lines, my dog has one. So if you want to get your hands on any of the products from thecoldestwater.com, make sure you go to thecoldestwater.com and use promo code WRESTLING to save 10% at checkout. Also, guys, thefirstwarrior.com. This is a patriotic clothing company. If you want to get your hands on any of their merch, like their shirts or hats, and they're working every day to get new articles of clothing in, like sweatpants and gym shorts, go to thefirstwarrior.com. First is spelled with a 1, not an I. And use promo code WRS to save 10% at checkout. Lastly, guys, A-Rock Designs. A-Rock Designs is my wife's custom business. She makes all those cool wrestling tumblers you see floating around everywhere. If you want to get your hands on anything like that, you can either go to A-Rock Designs on Facebook or go to arockdesigns.com. That's right. We're stepping up in the world, and we have our own website now. But with that being said, guys, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to go ahead and get my guest in here because I'm super excited. As you can see, I've changed up the trophy case for all AEW everything, because this man is a former CZW world champion, former BTE world champion. He's been rated Cultureholic's most underrated wrestler, and he's broken into PWI's top 500 twice. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is John Silver. John, how you doing, buddy?
What's up? What's going on? How you doing?
I am great, man. I know I've been saying this all day, but seriously, thank you for doing this. It really means a lot.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
The first question I have to ask, like right out of the gate, because I know everybody's wondering this, and it's the question everybody wants to know. John, who the fuck is Griff Garrison?
I still have no idea who Griff Garrison is. He's been in our show. I have no idea who the fuck Griff Garrison is. So, I mean, maybe one day I'll find out.
maybe one day. But in all seriousness, man, we know you're nursing an injury. You had that amazing TNT Championship match with Darby Allin. How's the recovery going, man? How's the injury? Are you getting your mobility back? How's everything going with the recovery?
It's going good. It's just like every day it's just a little bit better, but it's very frustrating because I mean, obviously I want to be back in the ring, especially now that AEW is by itself at that Wednesday night slot when the ratings are, super high right now.
Absolutely.
But also just a big part of my life is just going to the gym, and it's that helps me. Obviously helps you physically, but helps me mentally as well. So not being able to really do as much is, upsetting. But my range of motion right now is, I would say it's about back, but it doesn't feel good when it goes to certain spots. So and I don't want to hurt myself more, so I really want to make sure I'm back to lifting heavy weights with no pain before I get back in the ring. I don't want to rush it. I throw a clothesline, it pops out, and then I'm screwed for close to a year. So I want to make sure it's like super strong before I'm back in the ring.
No, absolutely. We've seen it time and time again with pro wrestling. People are at about 90% recovered, and they try to go and come back, and they think they're going to take one step forward, and they end up taking 2 steps back. So absolutely, man. And you say the gym is one of the things that's important to you and you're passionate about, and I think we could tell you're one of the biggest dudes I've ever had on this show. But I'm talking about the gym, man. You were working all the way up until you got signed with AEW. Like before you worked all the way up until it was go time, and you worked at a gym. You had a lot of different jobs. I believe you were a bartender, a kickbox instructor, working at a gym. What's it like, waking up every day wanting to, catch this dream and still trying to grind away the everyday hustle like all of us?
To be honest, at first it was kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm chasing my goal and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But after a while, it was kind of depressing. It was because, especially when you're seeing how the wrestling business is. The wrestling business doesn't matter. There's no like, hey, you have to be in the wrestling business this long to get signed. You have to be this signed. You could really wake up. You could be a nobody. You could get seen by Vince or Triple H. Now even Tony Khan or Cody Rhodes. They just say, hey, you want a contract, and that's how it could work. So for me, busting my ass and seeing people that are, in the business a year or two, or not even ever, just get signed, or people I know I'm better than get signed, was very, very depressing. So I mean, not that I really was like had it in my head that I was going to like quit, but I was thinking of maybe I shouldn't make this such a priority. Maybe I should make other things a priority. So for a while, it was like pretty much depressing, especially also when I have like a good show, a good indie show where, everyone's going nuts. And then, once you leave that arena, nobody knows anything of who you are or what you can like, I don't know. It's like you can go from like everyone in this little arena going crazy for you. And then once you walk out and you're not in that there, like you're a complete nobody to the rest of the world. So I don't know. It's very tough. That's why I always kept these smaller jobs. Like I didn't like, besides my last training job, that was pretty much one of my only full-time jobs because I was trying to be in wrestling.
But we've seen plenty of people, and I don't want to bring up any names. This isn't that kind of show where we just come on here and try to shoot on people. So I'm going to leave names out of it, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. When COVID hit, we've seen certain wrestlers, talking down to indie guys and stuff like that because they were starting GoFundMe accounts, stuff like that, because they were out of work. Do you think it helps you appreciate it more? Going through the grind like you did instead of just popping up one day, getting signed and not really having to go through the indies and stuff like that. Like we've seen, with this, I would say with like this newer wave of wrestlers, it's been happening for a while, but do you think going through that grind makes you appreciate it more when you eventually do get signed?
Of course. I mean, it bust your ass to get there. Definitely makes you appreciate it more. And you can tell that with certain people, the way certain people act, towards their towards fans, towards just don't care if they're getting, if they're really messing up their just if they're just not being a good person. Basically, I'm trying to say, like,
no, absolutely
care about their job. It's like I don't know. It's for me. It's like I need to. I finally got here. It took me forever to get here. I need to make the most out of it.
No, definitely. And I want to go to this comment from the comment section. My good buddy Josh says, all I have to say is, John Silver, thank you for being an inspiration to all of us short people out there.
No.
I don't think John's really that short. I just think he works in a land of giants.
Well, I'm definitely not a tall guy, but it's one of those things where of course, especially with pro wrestling, if you're not a tall person, like it's harder to get, looked at, or hard to get a job, or hard to do anything. So I knew that going in because when I started training in like 2006. So then it was like WWE's really the only place to go. And you not like short people. You have to be at least like 6'2" to get even noticed. So I guess I just stuck with it. And I was like, screw it. I want to be one of those very few short people that get a job somehow. But I'm glad I stuck with it, of course. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more difficult when you're not tall. Especially when I started, I was 14, so I wasn't even like a big jacked short guy then. I was 110 pounds, 14 years
old. Oh yeah,
old.
I scrolled the Instagram.
Yeah,
I scrolled the Instagram.
Tiny, so.
But one thing that I really, really like about guys like you and guys like Darby, you might not be 6'5", and you are jacked to the moon, but you might not be like 6'5", but when you get in the ring and you have a way of kind of taking that away from your opponent by making them wrestle, the little man style, or you make them wrestle your style of match, and I've always really, really respected that about you. But one thing I want to ask you about before we get into obviously the AEW questions and the Dark Order questions and stuff like that is you did a lot of appearances for WWE, to include a match you had with Heavy Machinery. Was there ever any thought that you were gonna end up signing with WWE over AEW, or was it always just I'm just being called in for an extra?
No, I never had any thought? I mean, if you're an extra there, like I think it's definitely a lot different being an extra in AEW and then being an extra WWE. Regardless, they're not even with AEW. I don't think they're really trying to watch like and like be like who can we sign here? Who can we sign? But if they do notice someone, they will give them a look. They will bring them back, or they will sign them. And they've signed a lot of people, especially during the pandemic, which
Oh yeah.
do the opposite of that. But um, there with WWE, there's almost zero chance you're getting signed unless you're a super tall and jacked extra, or it's like a Colin Delaney or Ellsworth type thing where they just saw the beat up and was like, oh, let's do something with this. So if you're an extra WWE, I feel like you almost have a zero shot, at least for that day. I mean, obviously, I don't think they get signed right away, but I don't even think they'd ask you to come to a tryout just at best off the extra work. But unless you are really big and jacked. But it was actually funny. Once I did get signed for my first AEW contract, so I had a per appearance deal at first, and then eventually full time deal. I think probably even less than a month after I signed my per appearance deal, they hit me up to do a tryout. So I just thought that's funny, and I didn't answer. And then they actually sent an angry email to me saying, "Hey,
Really?
it's like you emailed us about trying to get a tryout before, and then now you just no answer my email." And
You just no sell the email.
I said, "Dude, I think I wrote, dude, I'm signed with AEW."
That's awesome, man. You got John Silver no selling WWE. I love it. I love it, man. So what are now you say it's different, and I got to give a quick shout out because you said that AEW is really, they're signing people, through AEW Dark and through the extras. And I love what AEW is doing and putting a spotlight on the indie guys. Two really good friends of mine, one being Red Velvet. I'm friends with her and her fiance, Wes Briscoe. She just got signed, and another friend of mine, Ryzen's been doing a lot on AEW Dark. So I'm so happy for those guys, and I'm so grateful for what AEW is really doing for the independent scene. But you say that it's different being an extra for WWE versus an extra for AEW. What were the two experiences like, and how were they different?
Regardless, I think is just the way I was taught in the wrestling business was to always be extremely, which I think everyone really should, extremely respectful, stay out of people's way. If you're an extra, just kind of, do whatever they ask and stuff like that. But WWE is more intimidating. I feel like everyone almost hates you there. I feel like they just look.
You're not the first person to say that, man.
They look down at you as if you're freaking less than a human. It's really not everyone. I shouldn't say everyone. Some people are very nice. Actually, I have a story which, not to just put over all of just AEW, but the first time I was an extra, I was online with catering, and one person that came up to me and started talking to me, and I was very surprised how nice they were, was actually Cody. So I was taken back because obviously I'm a huge fan of wrestling. Obviously I knew who Cody was, and I'm like, whoa, this guy's being super nice. And then, I was trained at the same school as Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. So Hawkins wasn't there, but Zack Ryder was there the first time. So him and Ryback and maybe another person sat at my table with me and ate with me. So I was there are nice people. It's not like everyone there is complete, douche. But if you're especially if you're in management there, they do not want to even. I feel like they definitely look down at you a lot. Not every single person, so I can only be saying that everyone there is so evil and mean, but it was almost to a point. The first time or two is really cool, just because I was a huge fan. I always was like, wow, this is what it's
Absolutely.
like. But after that, it was I feel like it was almost depressing. It was almost not worth the money to do it.
Yeah, that's so cool that you say that, and it just shows, you bring up Cody, and it just shows that no matter where you are on the totem pole. I mean, you got Cody, who's management. You got Ryder, who I don't know if he was signed at the time or not, but he's not now. And you know, it's just that variety of range of people who just because we're here, we're all human beings. At the end of the day, we should be able to sit down and break bread together. And you know, I had the opportunity to meet Cody one time, and he was super nice to me. I was actually at the first Fight for the Fallen, and he was in the car getting ready to leave the venue. I had my old school Ring of Honor title, and he made his driver stop, get out, come get me, just so he can sign the belt, because obviously it's the belt he retired. He knew I wanted his signature on it, and he was so nice to me and my family. And it's just like I said, I only had the opportunity to meet him once, but such a nice guy. And it's great as a fan to hear the stories from you and guys like you who have been there and know that it's just not, you know, a wall that they put up. This is actually who they are. It's great to hear that, man. Um, so I want to talk about joining the Dark Order. Obviously, a huge career move for you. Opened up a lot of doors. You know, going into the Dark Order. Before the Dark Order, we saw you in 2 matches, I believe, in AEW. One, you've said, you know, 90 seconds to Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, and then about 3 minutes with Best Friends. And then after that, you go straight into the Dark Order, or you get approached about the Dark Order. What's your mindset like when you're showing up and you're doing the job? I mean, you're happy to be there, you're doing the job, and then all of a sudden, hey, we've got a storyline for you. We want to plug you in here. Were you expecting it, or how did you feel when you got that news?
We weren't expecting. Like, when we were told, we're used to pro wrestling, so we're used to nothing actually like happening that says it's gonna happen. Like, there's been so many cool things that me and Alex were supposed to do, just fell through. So we were kind of just like, oh, well, believe it when we see it. So, like I've mentioned in other podcasts and stuff that like the first time we did the first show, you know, it just said, it didn't even say our names on the board. It said local talent. So originally, when we got the first email to go do the show, they didn't say, hey, we want to book you guys as extras. It says, hey, we want to book you guys for AEW. So we're like, awesome. We're going to get signed. Then when we got there and we saw that our name wasn't even on the board, it just said local talent. We're like, oh no, we're extras. I thought we were signed, or I thought we were going to get signed. So after that, we were happy to do it. We really wanted to talk to whoever we could. We kind of said thank you to everyone, said thank you to Tony and to Cody and the Young Bucks, stuff like that. But we were like, oh, well, I guess that was it. So, but after we did have that day, Matt Jackson came up to us and said, hey, like, his idea wasn't the Dark Order. His idea was just to have us in pretty much just be at every show and just be called like the local talent. So no matter where we were, you know, we were the local guys in Philly, the local guys in Chicago, you know. So but he always says stuff very nonchalant. So we were like, yeah. We would do it because we just wanted a foot in the door, but we didn't think it was going to happen. Then I think the next show we did was 2 weeks later. I think it was 2 weeks later, and it was never like we're told right away. It's like we get an email, 4 days in advance of the show or whatever it was. So we go there, and then we see we have, at least a little more time. We have, like, it was like, okay, that's cool, but whatever. And then Matt Jackson again came up to us and said, hey, maybe we'll put you guys in like the Dark Order or something. I don't know. And we're like, awesome. We would obviously love to do that, but
slides that in there.
Yeah, but the way he does it, I'm like, if in my head, I'm like, okay, if we get in the Dark Order, we're gonna have to be signed because we're in their group. So
yeah,
but we're like, oh well, I don't know. We'll see if it happens. And eventually, I think we're away for another like week or 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it was, and then eventually we get another call saying to come in, and it just like happened like that until we joined the Dark Order, and we're like, okay, I guess we gotta be here every show now. So it was just it was nerve-wracking how that how that happened, because every time we leave, we're like, shit, we don't know if we're gonna come back, we don't know like if we're gonna get an opportunity again. So definitely nerve-wracking, but everything Matt Jackson said pretty much came true. Like he just said, bring it back. Oh, we'll join the dark. You'll join the Dark Order. Oh, we'll have this. We'll have that. So, I mean, it all worked out. So.
No, absolutely, man. And I want to jump ahead just a little bit here, and then we'll come back later. Just while we're on this topic, we talked about the extra work with WWE. We talked about the extra work with AEW and Matt Jackson, and I think you said Nick Jackson just sliding those details in there just ever so gently, and then you finally get into the Dark Order. Now you're signed, and everything's going right. COVID hits, and things kind of change for you a little bit. Now you're signed, but now you're sitting at home because travel restrictions and everything. What kind of told us, not so much physically and on wrestling, but like your mental, the mental toll? What kind of toll did COVID take on you? Now you finally reached it, you're signed, and now COVID and you can't travel.
I mean, it definitely was not what we want. I mean, obviously anyone wanted, like, we always want to be at every show. We want to be there. We want to be on TV when we're doing something. So for the first month and a half, whatever it was, we weren't allowed to go. I think we did one show. I think we did one show right in the beginning. But then that was then we were stuck at home because no one wanted the New Yorkers. Apparently, New York was such a high risk place that
it's ground zero.
Yeah, so we were a little screwed there, and it sucked because we were screwed, and then also Stu and Uno are from Canada, so they couldn't come either. So our group went from all of us, and then it's Brody. And then as we're at home, we see they added 10 and 5. So we're like, well, those could be our replacements right there. So we almost thought we were going to get like replaced by them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also, we're training at the Nightmare Factory. So we're like, okay, well, they're buddies with, the management there. So they don't want us in it. Maybe they're going to replace us with 5 and 10, and they're going to be the thing with Brody because, to that point, we never had a win on TV. We barely.
It's just like every worst thought you can have is all coming. They're management's guys. It's COVID. We can't travel.
Yeah, we thought, oh, we're replaced. Those are our replacements. Like they were getting wins on TV. They were having big matches, and we like never had a big match on TV. We never had a win, so it was like, well, there's that. So mentally, we're just kind of like a little drained, just hoping for the best, but expecting the worst.
Oh no, definitely, man. And I could imagine, just sitting there not being able to travel, and you see these guys coming in, and I mean, anybody would think that's the way it's going, but it went the exact opposite way. And now you guys are one of the tightest groups. Like you really have that family feel, that like I said, that cohesion between you guys, probably stronger than any other group on TV. And I feel like the Dark Order has come a long way. Through being on BTE, being on AEW, and all the skits you guys have been doing there for a while. And I don't mean any disrespect by this. I hope you don't take it that way. Just I'm speaking strictly as a fan. In the beginning, it didn't really look like it was going to last. And you guys just hit this next gear, and everything you guys were doing was absolute money. And it was just great to watch. And now I'm a huge fan of the Dark Order, and I'm a huge fan of you. Going into being the Elite, how did that happen? Like, how did you guys transition into going on being the Elite? Because that's where you guys' personalities really came into light, and we all seen, these characters that we just love to follow. How did that happen with you getting on being starting to go to being the Elite?
So I think Uno told us like, hey, maybe you guys should try to do like recruitment bits on BTE for the Dark Order, just like to do something. So we said, sure, we'll do it. But we wanted to figure out a way first to set that up instead of just, us saying, hey, let's go recruit people. So the first thing we filmed was with all of us, where Brody didn't want to be at first. He definitely didn't want, actually, no one wanted to be funny besides me. I was like, I'll be the funny guy. Alex will be in my bits, but he'll be the straight guy to the me. So I don't care. This is what I like to do. So the first thing we did was the first bit where Brody opens up the door. he pegs Uno in the face with the papers, and then yells at us all. And then we said, like, we're gonna take care of like the emails, whatever it was. So that's how it started. But after that, everyone, including myself, because I was dying laughing as this bit was going on, thought it was so funny, Brody throwing the papers. So me and Alex still did our recruitment bits, and then we was like, hey, Brody, like everyone's liking, the paper thing. So we kind of just kept on doing that. And then just as it went on, of course, like at first he's trying to be like a dick to us and serious, but still like kind of funny. And then like Uno is trying to be funny. Stu's not being funny. Like he doesn't be funny at all. Like Alex was being a little bit, but it was just like me being an idiot, and then everyone else being serious, but it being funny. And then eventually, just everyone just was like, "Screw it, this is catching on. Like we're all gonna let loose a little bit." So that's what we did. But the paper things with Brody were like my favorite things we filmed. Like those are there's so many really, really funny ones that I can't even like think about without cracking up laughing. So yeah, we had some really good stuff on there.
Speaking of laughing, I mean, you tell this story all the time. The are you crying to kind of cover your laughing? I got to tell you, man, I'm right there with you. So I served almost 7 years in the military, and going through basic, I laugh at everything, literally everything. You stare at me, I'm going to laugh. Going through basic training, getting the drill sergeants right in my face and knowing I'm not allowed to laugh, I feel your pain on how hard that was. And what a creative way to kind of get away with it and sweep it under the rug. But I just wanted you to know, man, I completely feel your pain on trying not to laugh in certain situations. We have a comment coming in from the audience. If this will go ahead and pop up here, from my buddy Face Dustin. He says, is there anyone on the AEW roster that you haven't worked with that you want to?
Yeah, top two right now are Christian and Chris Jericho. Got to go with them.
I mean, if you're gonna shoot your shot, shoot it high, right?
Yeah.
I was so happy to see Christian. I was watching the Royal Rumble, and I remember thinking to myself, this man hasn't missed a step. And then he pops up on AEW, and I absolutely popped for it.
That's awesome. He's so underrated good, because I think a lot of people they think about Edge a little bit more, but like if you watch Christian matches, all those matches are so good. He's so crisp. He's so good. So he's definitely on my top of my list.
So we have two reoccurring questions coming in the audience. One of them, what's a workout plan look like for you? Because you are I'm not hitting on you or nothing. I'm happily married. But you are absolutely jacked, man. What's a workout / diet regiment look like for John Silver? How do you get those big old guns, man?
I mean, when it comes to arms, I've always been more of an arm guy. Like some people have certain things that just grow a little bit better. Like some people like have a huge chest or a wide back or just really big shoulders or legs. My arms definitely grew faster than anything. So people always like, oh, you must do arms all the time. Nowadays, I really don't. I do them just as much as anything else. And if there's like a week where, let's say, I'm away and I can't work out, or I can't, I'll skip the arm day because I don't need it as much as, other like chests or whatever. So, but what I've been doing, I mean, my routines have changed. I mean, obviously you can't do the same routine, but I pretty much, before the shoulder injury, of course, if I try to get to the gym every single day, I'll do, I will do, like, a lot. Some people are against this, but it worked for me, so I don't mind it. But I'll do one muscle a day, but I don't give myself off days. So I know there's no off days is bad too, but if I'm doing chest this day and then I'm working out other stuff and I don't hit chest again until another 4 or 5 days later, it just had all that time to rest. So I don't really give myself any off days, but I'll hit chest, arms, or I'll do arms together, shoulder day, a back day, a leg day. Did I miss anything? And then I'll sprinkle in like abs or something like that.
You got to get the beard day in there too, man. That thing's gorgeous.
Keep this thing every day, actually. But and then before the injury too, I was going to MMA classes. So I would work out usually during the day or in the morning, and then a little later in the day, I would do either kickboxing or jiu-jitsu or something like that.
No, absolutely. And everybody focuses on, John's got the big old arms. He's got some of the biggest arms in AEW. You ain't slacking on the feet either. I watched, like I said, that match between you and Darby Allin. We're gonna get to that a little bit later, but you have some deadly kicks, man. I was watching it, and I actually have a clip from your Instagram that I want to show everybody. Guys, if you don't follow John Silver on Instagram, it's right here scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Silver #1 on Instagram and Twitter. But I'll save you guys the trouble. I found this clip and was absolutely floored by it. Check out the educated feet of one John Silver. I mean, you're just laying him in there, man.
Yeah, I just throw him, man. That was MJF, so I don't mind throwing a
It was. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, we obviously know you injured the shoulder. Did you use more footwork in that championship match because you had that injury and you couldn't use your arm as much?
A little bit, not a lot. I was gonna start right after I heard it. I was gonna when I got him in the ring. Wasn't planning on throwing kicks there, but if you rewatch the match, you see me. I throw a forearm and just with my right arm, and it just wasn't working. And then I try to throw one with left, and it didn't. I didn't look as bad as it felt in my head, but I'm like, no, that wasn't good. Then I went to the kicks because I can do that without hurting my shoulder. But yeah, my shoulder was pretty shot then, so I had to switch it up a little bit.
No, absolutely, man. And you say you grew up a lifelong fan of wrestling, and at the end of that match, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that match. I mean, there's been few matches where I can go back and I can look at, and I'm just like, yeah, that was an instant classic. I think Ty Conti and Hikaru Shida just had one last night. I thought that match was absolutely fantastic. But sitting down, I stream all wrestling on my Twitch channel. We do watch-alongs and reactions, and my chat was just going crazy for that match. But at the end, being a lifelong wrestling fan, you have one of the top guys in AEW, the current TNT champion, and Sting in the ring, kind of, giving you the nod, the fist bump. And what is it like being in the ring with a guy like Sting and one of the top guys in the company and kind of them pretty much affirming everything you already knew about yourself? You knew you were that good, and now you just went out there and proved it.
Well, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, I think in the moment I wasn't thinking about that though. Like later on, I think later in the week too, I was thinking about that. Especially just because it got a lot of people really enjoyed the match. I was thinking about Sting being a part of my match and coming out, and I thought it was I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny that it's always been like a weird joke that me and Alex have that. No matter what the question is, the answer is always Sting for some reason. And this is like before Sting signed with us. So it's like, oh, guess who came over my house yesterday? Oh, Sting? It's like, no. But so actually when he debuted, I wrestled and I think I hurt my heel or something like that. It was just bruised it. So I was in the doctor's office, like icing it down. And Sting was a surprise. So I'm sitting there, and there's a door in the doctor's office that leads in. So the door opens. I look up, and Sting's there in full gear with a bat and everything. I didn't know he was coming. He didn't tell us this thing was debuting that day. So he walks in. I look up, and he looks down at me and just keeps walking. And I was like, "Holy shit!" So I text Alex. I'm like, "Alex, guess who's here?" And he says, "Sting." And I'm like, "Yeah, here. Sting is actually here." The first time this worked out, but it was pretty cool because I mean, obviously I watched Sting as a kid, so him being a part of what I'm doing in the ring is like a whole next level. It's like especially people like him and Jericho and Matt Hardy and stuff like that. It's like I wrestle with them or talk to them backstage. And I'm like, wow, this is like completely coming like full circle like from my childhood. So it's always pretty cool to see stuff like that.
No, absolutely not. I've very much enjoyed watching it as a fan. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and TikTok groups and places that just love talking about wrestling. And one thing we all really agree on is the way that AEW has been able to use these legends and these icons of the business to where they may have been misused in other places. We feel like AEW is really like with Jake, having him in the role that he's in, Tully and Arn the role that they're in. We absolutely love the way AEW has been able to incorporate these legends into forming the new generation of wrestlers, and we thought it's absolutely great. Guys, I've only got 2 more questions for you, John, but guys, we got 2 questions in the final segment. As I told you guys earlier, we are streaming on Twitch. The final segment will only be available on Twitch. So if you're watching on YouTube, go and switch over to twitch.tv/HeelKevin because you're only going to get that final segment on Twitch. I have to provide Twitch exclusive content being an affiliate of Twitch. So there we go. With that being said, going for the TNT Championship, obviously, and I want to approach this as respectfully as possible. Wrestling for the TNT Championship on Dynamite, did that mean a little more to you, being as that it's the last title Brody held before he tragically passed away?
Yeah. It's just it's definitely a belt I want to have. At least I still want to have it eventually. And it's just, yeah, of course. Like just bringing it back to the Dark Order would mean a lot. So, it's definitely still high there on my list. Once the shoulder gets better, I really hope to just keep the ball rolling and just, get back to that title picture. But that's definitely, of course, means a lot.
You came that close with one shoulder. Who only knows what you're going to do with 2? But and the last question I'm going to have, on this topic, and once again, completely up to you. If you want to answer, we'll just move on. But everybody in the chat's asking, and once again, as respectfully as I can, as fans, we're all subject to that 4th wall. We're all subject to what you guys want us to see. My question for you is, we tragically lost Brody Lee, and I know you guys were close being in the Dark Order. We all know who Brody Lee was, but who was John? Like, what was he like behind the scenes? How influential was he to you? And just who was he as a man? Not even a character, but who was John the man?
He was an awesome guy. He was fantastic. He was the best. And he was I always say this, he's very genuine. He wasn't just trying to be nice because I could help him down the road, or it was like he genuinely tried to help everyone. He genuinely was very nice to everyone. It wasn't like, I'm doing this for a purpose. He's just doing it because he's a good guy. He's a very nice guy. He's, helped us out tremendously. Just was great. It's hard to say more than just how awesome of a good person. And he was funny too. It's not like he was also, how he was a little bit on BTE, just making us laugh constantly, joking around. He's a family man. Anytime he could actually go home, he's like, if we had to film something and he's like, hey, I'm not being used for today, if he can go home and see his family, that's what he would want to do.
Yeah.
So he was just all around good guy, all around super nice. I don't think anyone I've ever seen that had a bad word to say. Just a great person.
Absolutely, man. And that's been the same answer everywhere, is that he was a family man. He loved everybody. He looked out for everybody. He was just an overall great guy. And I got to tell you, as a fan, sitting back and watching that tribute show, for everybody involved, you guys did such an amazing job with that. Told such a beautiful story, from everything from the in-ring work all the way to later was leaked the backstage conversation that Eddie Kingston had with everybody. Just such a great heartfelt moment. You guys did such an amazing job for that. And I'm sure you've been told this a million times, but from the fans, everybody in the chat, for myself, thank you guys for such a beautiful, beautiful tribute show you guys did.
Of course.
With that being said, guys, I am going to go ahead and cut the YouTube feed. This last segment is only going to be available on Twitch. So if you're watching on Real Pro Wrestling's YouTube page or Wrestling Review Society's YouTube page, head over to twitch.tv/HeelKevin to catch this final segment with John Silver. You're not going to want to miss it. If you love seeing him on Being the Elite and everything else that he's doing, this is going to come to no surprise to anybody. John, we're going to play a game called the Insta Game. Basically, what I do is I take pictures from your Instagram, I throw them up on screen, and I get the story behind them. Maybe some